The stars had always been humanity's muse, a canvas of infinite possibilities painted with dreams of discovery. For centuries, we sent probes into the void, built telescopes to peer into the cosmos, and whispered hopes of finding others out there. But when the alarm tore through the United Nations Space Command, UNSC headquarters in Geneva, at 3 a.m. on a frigid May morning in 2025, it wasn't a dream that answered. It was a nightmare. Commander William Carter sprinted through the labyrinthine corridors of the UNSC complex, his breath visible in the chill air, his uniform jacket flapping, one sleeve still unbuttoned. The polished marble floors echoed with his footsteps as he burst into the control room, a cavernous space humming with the frenetic energy of a dozen officers. Their faces were pale, their eyes locked on the massive holographic screen dominating the far wall. The image was a gut punch, a fleet of alien ships, hundreds, perhaps thousands, slicing through the blackness of space, their sleek, angular forms glinting faintly against the distant stars. They were hurtling toward the solar system with a speed that defied every known law of physics. "How fast are they moving?" Carter demanded, his voice a calm anchor in the storm of panic. Lieutenant Olivia Grant, her fingers dancing across her console, didn't look up. Her screen flickered with data from deep space sensors, numbers scrolling too fast for most to follow. "Faster than anything we've ever tracked, sir," she replied, her voice tight. "They'll reach Pluto's orbit in 6 days." 6 days. The words hung in the air like a guillotine's blade. Humanity had spent decades searching for extraterrestrial life, broadcasting signals into the void, hoping for a handshake from the stars. Now the stars had responded, and they were coming with an armada. Carter's mind raced, parsing the implications. The first contact protocols, drafted in the optimistic haze of the late 20th century, had envisioned a slow, deliberate encounter. Radio, signals perhaps, or a lone exploratory vessel. Not this, not a fleet moving with such relentless purpose. "Send the first contact message," he ordered, his tone brooking no hesitation. "Every language, every frequency, and get the USS Horizon prepped for launch in 3 hours." Grant nodded, her hands a blur as she initiated the protocol. The message, a carefully crafted blend of mathematics, music, and greetings in every human language, had been designed to convey peace and curiosity. As it beamed into the void, Carter turned to the room. "I want every analyst on this. Pull all data from our deep space arrays. I need to know what we're dealing with." The officers snapped into action, their fear channeled into purpose. Carter's calm was contagious, but beneath it, his heart pounded. This was no drill. This was history. By dawn, the world knew. News networks broadcast grainy images of the alien fleet, captured by long-range telescopes. The ships were unlike anything humanity had built. Their hulls curved where human designs were angular, pulsating with faint, bioluminescent lights that suggested something organic, alive. Panic erupted in some corners. Riots broke out in Mumbai, São Paulo, and Lagos, with looters smashing storefronts and governments scrambling to impose curfews. In other places, people gathered in churches, mosques, temples, and town squares, some celebrating the dawn of a new era, others praying for salvation. Most simply watched, their lives suspended in a moment of collective dread, wondering if these were emissaries of peace or harbingers of annihilation. The USS Horizon was humanity's pinnacle of engineering, a sleek fusion-powered vessel built for exploration but armed for war. Its hangar, a vast cavern of steel and light, buzzed with activity as technicians swarmed, loading supplies, calibrating systems, and running diagnostics. Carter boarded with his crew of 50 specialists, engineers, scientists, tacticians, each handpicked for their expertise and nerve. Captain Maria Sanchez, the ship's science officer, matched his stride as they crossed the gangway. Her dark eyes scanned the bustling deck, her expression a mix of excitement and unease. "Do you think they'll be peaceful?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the hum of machinery. Carter glanced at her, his jaw tight. "I hope so, Maria, but we're not betting on hope." The Horizon's armory was stocked with railguns, plasma torpedoes, and experimental energy shields, technology humanity had developed in secret, fearing a day like this. The ship's fusion drives, a breakthrough from the early 2020s, could propel it across the solar system in days, a feat unimaginable a generation ago. As the engines roared to life, Carter felt the weight of history settle on his shoulders. They were about to meet the unknown, and he would be humanity's voice. The journey to the solar system's edge took just 2 days, the Horizon's drives pushing the boundaries of human engineering. The crew worked in shifts, their training kicking in despite the tension that coiled in the air. Carter spent hours reviewing the limited data from the alien fleet, searching for patterns, clues, anything that might reveal their intent. The ship's speed suggested advanced propulsion, perhaps antimatter or something beyond human comprehension. Their formation was tight, disciplined, like a flock of predatory birds. Were they explorers, conquerors, refugees? The questions gnawed at him, but answers remained elusive. As they approached the coordinates where the fleet was expected, Carter ordered the ship to decelerate. The bridge was a hive of quiet intensity. Every officer at their station, eyes locked on their screens. "Send the greeting again," Carter told Communications Officer Jack Rivera, a wiry man with a knack for languages. "All channels, let's make sure they know we're here." Rivera nodded, his fingers flying across his console. The message looped, a beacon of peace in the darkness. The wait was excruciating, minutes stretched into hours, the silence on the bridge broken only by the soft hum of the ship's systems and the occasional murmur of an officer confirming a reading. Carter stood at the center, his hands clasped behind his back, his eyes fixed on the main screen. Sanchez sat at her station, analyzing sensor data, her brow furrowed. Rivera monitored the comms, his earpiece pressed close. The crew's training held, but the tension was palpable, a living thing that pressed against their chests. Then, without warning, the screen flickered, and a creature appeared. It was humanoid in the loosest sense, its body resembling a fish with limbs, its skin a shimmering blue that caught the light like liquid metal. Large black eyes blinked sideways, and bubbles swirled around it, suggesting an aquatic environment. Within its enclosure, the crew stared, transfixed as it spoke, its voice a melodic cascade that somehow formed perfect English. "We are the Valori," it said. "I am Ambassador Zath Noir. We seek safe passage through your system." Carter stepped forward, his posture radiating authority despite the surreal moment. "I am Commander William Carter of Earth. We welcome you to our solar system and offer friendship." The Valori's skin rippled, a subtle shift of colors that Carter couldn't interpret. Was it emotion, a reflex, or something else? "We accept your welcome," Zath Noir said, "but we must inform you of our purpose. We flee from death itself." The word sent a chill through the bridge, over the D. Next few hours, Zath Noir shared a story that turned curiosity into dread. The Valori were refugees, one of many species fleeing a force they called the Devourers, ancient machines that awoke every 10,000 years to purge the galaxy of advanced civilizations. 17 species had already fallen, their worlds reduced. To lifeless husks, their cultures erased. "Earth lies directly in their path," Zath Noir said, its voice heavy with sorrow. "You have 6 months, perhaps less. We offer to share our technology if you allow us safe passage," the ambassador added, its eyes unblinking. Carter nodded, maintaining his diplomatic facade, but Sanchez's frown deepened as she analyzed the data the Valori transmitted. The files were dense, filled with star charts, technical schematics, and historical records, but something nagged at her. After the meeting, she pulled Carter into the science lab, her expression grim. "You need to see this, sir." On her screen were scans of star systems the Valori had passed through. The before images showed vibrant planets teeming with resources, metals, gases, water, even primitive life. The after images showed barren, scarred worlds, their atmospheres thinned, their surfaces strip-mined to the core. "They're not just refugees," Sanchez said. her voice tight with anger. "They're scavengers. They take everything, metals, gases, even atmospheres, leaving ecological disasters behind. They're not running to survive. They're plundering to thrive." Carter's jaw clenched, his mind racing. The Valori's offer of technology was tempting. Humanity's fusion drives were cutting edge, but alien tech could leapfrog them centuries forward. But at what cost? If the Valori were stripping systems bare, they weren't allies. They were opportunists. He ordered another meeting with Seth Noir. When the ambassador appeared on the screen, its watery enclosure bubbling softly, Carter didn't bother with pleasantries. "We've seen what your fleet does, Ambassador. You're not, just running. You're plundering every system you touch." Seth Noir's skin darkened, a ripple of unease crossing its surface like a storm cloud. "We take what we need to survive," it said, its voice still melodic but edged with defensiveness. "The Devourers leave nothing. Would you have us die?" Carter's eyes narrowed, his voice cold. "I'd have the truth. Are the Devourers real?" A long silence followed, the ambassador's eyes unreadable, its bubbles swirling faster. Finally it spoke. "They are real, but there is more to our story." What followed was a revelation that shook Carter to his core. The Devourers were an ancient machine intelligence, created millions of years ago by a species now extinct. Their purpose was to prevent civilizations from growing too powerful, a galactic failsafe designed to maintain balance. But over millennia, their programming had corrupted, turning a protective mechanism into a relentless force of destruction. Every 10,000 years they awoke, sweeping through the galaxy to annihilate any species that had reached a certain technological threshold. "No species fights them," Seth Noir admitted, its voice heavy. "All run as we do. We take resources because we never stop running." The words landed like a physical blow. Carter exchanged a glance with Sanchez, whose eyes burned with a mix of fear and defiance. The Valori weren't just refugees. They were survivors of a cosmic purge, driven by desperation to outrun an enemy that never tired. But their survival came at a cost. Entire worlds left in ruin, their ecosystems collapsed, their futures stolen. Carter ended the meeting with a curt nod, promising to relay the information to Earth. As the screen went dark, he turned to his crew. "We're heading home, and we're bringing the ambassador with us." The Horizon's return to Earth was a whirlwind of activity. Seth Noir, housed in a specially designed aquatic chamber, accompanied them, a guest, or perhaps a witness to humanity's fate. The UNSC scrambled to prepare for the ambassador's arrival, converting a conference hall into a diplomatic chamber with environmental controls to mimic the Valori's aquatic habitat. News of the alien fleet and the Devourer threat spread like wildfire, amplified by leaked images of Seth Noir's transmission. Governments struggled to maintain order as fear and fascination gripped the globe. In a historic session of the United Nations, broadcast to every corner of the planet, Seth Noir addressed humanity's leaders. The chamber was a sea of faces, presidents, prime ministers, generals, scientists, all hanging on the ambassador's words. "Your species faces the same choice all others have faced," Seth Noir said, its voice echoing through the hall. "Flee with us or be destroyed. There is no third option." The words ignited a firestorm. Some delegates wept, others shouted in defiance, but all felt the weight of an impossible decision. The world erupted into chaos. More alien fleets arrived, transforming the moon into a galactic crossroads. The Krell, towering reptilian warriors, with scales like armor, strode through the newly established lunar settlement of Haven, their yellow eyes glowing in the dim light. The Luminari, beings of semi-solid light, floated like living auroras, their voices a harmonic symphony that resonated in the bones. The Saurians, sleek and reptilian, moved with predatory grace, their claws clicking on the lunar stone. The Bondo, small, round creatures with a knack for communications, chattered in rapid bursts of code, their bodies pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. All told the same story. The Devourers were unstoppable, and Earth should run. Haven grew from a diplomatic outpost into a sprawling city, its domes housing over 30 species. Alien architectures clashed. Valori water-filled spires that shimmered like liquid glass, Krell stone fortresses carved with battle runes, Luminari pavilions woven from threads of light, and Saurian bunkers that seemed to grow from the lunar rock. Carter walked its main plaza, a bustling marketplace where aliens bartered technologies, resources, and information. The air was a cacophony of languages, some spoken, others telepathic or chemical. He felt the weight of countless eyes, some curious, others pitying. To them, humanity's defiance was a tragic folly. On Earth, the debate raged. Some, gripped by fear, demanded evacuation, flocking to alien ships offering passage to distant worlds beyond the Devourer's reach. Others, fueled by pride, stubbornness, or hope, vowed to stay. Carter's phone buzzed as he stood in his office, watching protests unfold in the streets below. It was General Lisa Chen, the youngest general. In UNSC history, her voice sharp with urgency. "Commander, I need you at the Pentagon now. I think we have another option." Carter arrived at the Pentagon's war room, a high-tech bunker buried deep beneath Washington, D.C. Chen stood before a holographic map of the solar system, her dark eyes blazing with determination. At 32, she was a prodigy, her strategic brilliance matched only by her unyielding resolve. "Every species runs from these devourers," she said, skipping formalities. "But what if we didn't? What if we made our stand here?" Carter stared, caught off guard. "The aliens say no one has ever beaten them." Chen's smile was fierce, almost feral. "No one has tried, at least not properly. These aliens have been running so long, it's all they know. But Earth? We're different." She gestured to the map, her finger tracing strategic points. "We have the asteroid belt for cover, gas giants for tactical traps, and enough resources to build a defense. We can turn this system into a fortress." Carter studied the map, then her face seeing not just ambition but conviction. The asteroid belt, a chaotic ring of rocks between Mars and Jupiter, could be weaponized. The gas giants, Jupiter, Saturn, offered gravitational slingshots and hiding spots. Earth's industrial capacity, honed by decades of innovation, could churn out ships and weapons at an unprecedented pace. "The aliens will think we're crazy," he said, a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. Chen's grin widened. "Maybe we are, but I'd rather die fighting than running forever." She outlined her plan. A multi-layered defense starting with a mobile asteroid minefield, followed by stealth platforms around Jupiter's moon Europa, and a main fleet hidden near Mars. The strategy relied on deception, luring the devourers into traps, exploiting their predictable tactics. It was audacious, risky, and utterly human. 2 days later, the United Earth government convened an emergency session in Geneva. The chamber was a powder keg of emotions: fear, hope, anger, defiance. Scientists presented data from the Valori, confirming the Devourer's destructive power. Generals outlined military capabilities, admitting Earth's fleet was outmatched. Politicians debated, some advocating evacuation, others rallying for resistance. Stenoir's warning echoed in their minds: flee or die. But as the hours ticked by, a new sentiment emerged, not just fear but pride. Humanity had clawed its way from caves to the stars. They would not run. When the vote came, it was unanimous. Earth would not flee. Earth would fight. Carter delivered the news to Zit Noir in Haven's diplomatic chamber, the Valori's water-filled enclosure glowing softly. The ambassador's skin paled to a ghostly white, a reaction Carter now recognized as shock. "This has never happened," Zit Noir whispered, its voice trembling. "You choose extinction." Carter stood tall, his voice unwavering. "No, Ambassador. We choose to fight for our home. And maybe, just maybe, we'll win." Noir stared, its eyes unreadable, bubbles swirling in its chamber. "Then we will watch, Commander Carter," it said softly. "And we will remember your courage, however brief it may be." Earth transformed into a planet of war. Factories that once produced cars, computers, and consumer goods now churned out warships, drones, and weapons. Schools became training centers, teaching civilians to operate combat systems, repair starships, and manage logistics. Farmland expanded to stockpile food, with vertical farms sprouting in every major city. Orbital shipyards worked around the clock, their skeletal frames silhouetted against the stars. Victor Rodriguez, Earth's wealthiest magnate, redirected his vast corporate empire to build defensive platforms on Mars's dark side, hidden from enemy scans. "If we're going to fight, we fight smart," he told the UNSC Council, his voice rough from sleepless nights. "These platforms will hit the Devourers when they least expect it." Rodriguez's factories on Mars were a marvel of automation. Robotic arms assembling massive energy cannons and drone bays with relentless precision. His chief engineer, Kelly Jones, oversaw the operation, her team working in shifts to meet impossible deadlines. "Platform 58 is complete," she reported during a late-night briefing, her eyes bloodshot but determined. "We're ahead of schedule." Rodriguez nodded, his face etched with exhaustion. "Good. Start on the next one immediately." But not everyone believed in the fight. Former Admiral Paul Bennett, a decorated veteran with a reputation for caution, led a growing EI movement demanding evacuation. His speeches drew thousands, his words resonating with those paralyzed by fear. "We're throwing lives away on a hopeless battle," he shouted at a public forum in New York, his face flushed with passion. "The aliens offer safety. Why? Stay to die." His movement, dubbed the Exodus Coalition, sparked protests across the globe, some turning violent. In Chicago, a mob stormed a spaceport, demanding access to evacuation ships. UNSC troops restored order, but the clashes left dozens injured and deepened the divide. In Haven, Carter was surprised when a Krell warrior named Gra approached him in the plaza. Standing over 8 feet tall, his scales scarred from countless battles, Gra thumped his chest, a gesture of respect. "I wish to fight with humans," he said, his voice a low rumble. "Running is not my way. I am a warrior." Carter blinked, stunned. "Your people are leaving." Gra's yellow eyes gleamed. "Some disagree, not many, but some." That same day, Alori, a luminary physicist, approached Dr. Alan Wright, Earth's leading scientist, in a makeshift lab in Haven. Her form, a shimmering cloud of purple and gold light, pulsed with curiosity. "Your quantum disruption theory intrigues me," she said, her voice a harmonic chorus. "I believe it could work. I will help." Wright, a wiry man with a penchant for late-night coffee, looked up from his equations, surprised. "You're staying." "Why?" Alori's light steadied. "Because you fight. No species has done this. I wish to see if you are right." Slowly, a coalition formed. Gra, the Krell warrior, brought tactical expertise from battles against the Devourers. Alori, the luminary physicist, offered insights into quantum mechanics far beyond human understanding. 2 Valori engineers, Quasal and Tin Vor, specialized in adaptive materials, their knowledge critical for reinforcing Earth's ships. Zix, a Saurian combat specialist, was a master of stealth and sabotage, her claws capable of slicing through metal. Pabayuiq, a Bondo communications expert, could intercept and decode alien signals with uncanny speed. Each brought unique skills, their decision to stay a quiet rebellion against their species' instincts. Carter met with them in Haven's war room, a cavernous chamber lined with human and alien technology, holographic displays, quantum processors, and Valori water circulation systems. "We need everything you know," he said, his voice firm. "Tactics, weaknesses, anything that can give us an edge." Gra grunted, his scales clicking as he shifted. Krell fought them briefly at Riel System. They hunt in packs, target command ships first, strike fast, then scatter. Zix nodded, her eyes glinting. They scan for energy signatures before attacking. Mask your ship's emissions, and you delay their strikes. Quasal, one of the Valori engineers, added, "Their hulls regenerate quickly. Sustained fire on a single point is needed to penetrate." 4 months before the Devourer's arrival, General Chen unveiled her defense plan in the Global Defense Center, a sprawling underground complex in Colorado. The room was tense, filled with military officers, scientists, and alien representatives. Chen stood before a holographic map of the solar system, her presence commanding despite her youth. "The asteroid belt is our first line," she said, pointing to a band of rocks between Mars and Jupiter. "We've fitted engines to 500 asteroids, creating a moving minefield. When activated, they'll form a chaotic barrier, slowing the devourers." She gestured to Jupiter's moon Europa. "Our second line is here. Stealth platforms, equipped with railguns and drones, will strike from cover. The main fleet waits near Mars, hidden behind the planet's shadow." Admiral Bennett, still on the council despite his dissent, shook his head. "This is madness, General. We're fighting an enemy that erased 17 civilizations. You're gambling with billions of lives." Chen's gaze was ice. "And they've never faced humanity, Admiral. We don't run. We adapt." Her plan was a masterclass in deception and attrition. The asteroid minefield would disrupt the Devourers' formation, forcing them to expend energy, clearing a path. The Europa platforms would hit and run, drawing the enemy deeper into the system. The feigned retreat of the main fleet would lure the Devourers into a trap, where Rodriguez's Mars platforms, armed with massive energy cannons and swarms of drones, would unleash hell. At the heart of the strategy was Dr. Wright's quantum disruptor, a device designed to scramble the Devourers' quantum-entangled communication. "Their ships operate as a hive mind," Wright explained, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. "If we overload their network, we blind them, even for a few minutes." A lorry floating beside him pulsed with agreement. "Quantum systems are delicate," she said. "A precise frequency could disrupt their entire fleet." The room buzzed with cautious optimism, but Bennett's scowl deepened. "You're pinning our survival on an untested device and a handful of rocks. This isn't strategy. It's desperation." Chen's smile was razor sharp. "Desperation is what makes us dangerous, Admiral. On Earth, the transformation was staggering. Cities hummed with industry, their skylines pierced by new shipyards that glowed with welding sparks. Factories ran 24/7, producing fighters, drones, and missiles. Schools became training centers, where teenagers learned to pilot drones and retirees mastered logistics. Farmland expanded, with vertical farms sprouting in urban centers to stockpile food. In orbit, shipyards churned out vessels, some sleek and fast, others bulky and bristling with weapons. The United Earth Navy, a unified force under Chen's command, grew to 217 combat ships, with 83 more in final assembly. Rodriguez's Mars operation was a marvel of efficiency. His factories, buried beneath the red planet's surface, produced defensive platforms at a breakneck pace. Each platform was a fortress, equipped with energy cannons, drone bays, and stealth shielding. "They won't see us until it's too late," Rodriguez told Chen during a video call, his face haggard but determined. "We're building 50,000 drones to swarm their sensors. It won't kill them, but it'll make targeting our ships a nightmare." Chen nodded. "Every advantage counts. How many platforms by D-Day?" Rodriguez rubbed his eyes. 60, maybe 65. It's not enough, but it's what we've got. Not everyone shared the resolve. Bennett's Exodus coalition grew, its protests turning cities into battlegrounds. In London, a march of 10,000 demanded more evacuation ships, clashing with UNSC troops. In Tokyo, a hacker group aligned with Bennett disrupted shipyard operations, delaying production by days. The tension boiled over when Bennett's followers seized Haven's lunar shuttle port, a critical hub for alien and human transports. Armed with stolen weapons, they barricaded the control center, demanding the alien coalition provide more evacuation. Ship's Carter received the alert while meeting with Zeth Noir in Haven's diplomatic chamber. "Bennett's group has taken the port," a security officer reported, his voice crackling over the comm. "They're armed, and they've wounded a Krell guard." Carter moved quickly, assembling a team of UNSC Marines. When they reached the port, the situation was chaos. Gunfire echoed and smoke filled the air. Carter found Bennett in the control room, the former admiral holding a pistol, his hand shaking. "You're dooming us all," Bennett said, his voice breaking. "We could save millions if we focused on evacuation instead of this suicidal fight." Carter kept his voice calm, his hands raised. "Put the gun down, Paul. This isn't helping anyone." For a moment it seemed Bennett might fire, his eyes wild with desperation. Then his shoulders slumped, the pistol clattering to the floor. "I just want people to live," he whispered. Carter nodded, his expression softening. "So, do I. That's why we're fighting." The Marines arrested Bennett and his followers, but the incident left Haven shaken. A Krell guard died, and the port's operations were disrupted for days. That night, Carter addressed the world and the alien coalition in a broadcast from Haven. Standing before cameras that transmitted his image across the solar system, he spoke, from the heart. "Today we saw the cost of fear," he said, his voice steady but heavy. "I understand that fear. The Devourers have destroyed 17 civilizations. They've never been defeated. It would be easy to run." He paused, his eyes locking onto the camera as if speaking to every soul watching. "But if we all keep running, they will never stop. Someone has to make a stand, not just for humanity, but for every species that has lost their home, for every child who grew up on a refugee ship instead of under an open sky." He leaned forward, his voice rising with conviction. "We do not ask anyone else to fight our battle, but know this. When we stand against the Devourers, we stand for all of you, and if we win, the stars will belong to the living again, not to machines." The broadcast reached alien ships preparing to flee, their crews watching this human speak with simple, unshakable resolve. Some dismissed him as a fool, others listened, their instincts stirred by something they hadn't felt in centuries. Hope. 3. Months before the Devourers' arrival, Earth was a planet of industry and purpose. Factories ran at fever pitch, their smokestacks replaced by exhaust vents for fusion reactors. Shipyards in orbit produced vessels faster than ever, their crews working in zero-G to meet quotas. Schools trained millions, from teenagers to retirees, in everything from drone piloting to emergency medicine. Farmland expanded, with automated harvesters ensuring food security. In Haven, the alien coalition grew, with more species arriving daily. Though most planned to flee once their ships were refueled, Rodriguez's Mars operation hit its stride, completing 60 defensive platforms, each a masterpiece of stealth and firepower. His factories began producing drones, small agile craft designed to overwhelm enemy sensors. "They're not powerful," he told Chen during a briefing, "but they'll create chaos, make it harder for the Devourers to lock onto our ships." Chen nodded, studying a holographic display of the solar system. "We've got 217 combat ships, 50,000 drones, and the asteroid minefield. It's not enough, but it's a start." In a lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, Wright and Allori made a breakthrough with the quantum disruptor. Using fragments of Devourer tech recovered by the Luminary, they disrupted a simulated quantum signal, proving their theory. "It works," Wright said, his voice trembling with exhaustion and hope. "Now, we need to scale it to affect an entire fleet." Allori's light pulsed purple, a sign of excitement. "Their quantum systems are their strength and their weakness. A precise pulse could blind them for minutes, maybe longer." The challenge was immense. The Devourers' ships were unlike anything human or alien engineers had encountered. Part mechanical, part biological, with hulls that regenerated like living tissue. Sanchez, working with Luminary biologists, discovered the ships used planetary materials to repair themselves, a process that could be disrupted with targeted chemical payloads. "If we can poison their repair systems, we slow their regeneration," she told Carter during a late-night briefing. "It's not a kill shot, but it buys us time." 2 months out, the last major evacuation ships departed Earth, carrying millions to alien worlds. Those who remained had made their choice. They would fight. Cities fortified their defenses with energy shields and anti-orbital guns installed in major hubs. The United Earth Navy conducted drills, their ships practicing the feigned retreat. That would lure the Devourers into Chen's trap. In Haven, the alien coalition watched with growing fascination, some species reconsidering their plans to flee. Then, the Devourers arrived. The first sign was a disturbance near Pluto, detected by long-range sensors. Thousands of black insectoid ships materialized, their hulls absorbing light, their forms sharp and predatory. In the UNSC command center, Carter and Chen watched the main screen, their faces grim. The enemy fleet moved with frightening speed, obliterating a small outpost on Neptune's moon Triton in seconds. "They're faster than we expected," Grant reported, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Chen's expression didn't waver. "Activate the asteroid minefield, now." In the belt between Mars and Jupiter, 500 massive asteroids, lit up with blue engine flares, their thrusters propelling them into a chaotic, shifting barrier. The Devourers paused, their sensors confused by the unexpected obstacle. They fired, shattering the larger rocks, but the fragments became new threats, colliding with their ships and forcing them to slow. The human fleet, positioned near Mars, executed Chen's feigned retreat. Ships scattered in all directions, appearing to flee in panic. The Devourers took the bait, their fleet splitting to pursue. "They hunt like predators," Gra had said, and he was right. Rodriguez activated his Mars platforms, their energy cannons rising from the planet's surface, targeting the dispersed enemy ships. At the same time, 50,000 drones launched from Mars's moons, swarming the Devourers like angry bees, overwhelming their sensors. Amid the chaos, the USS Defiance, a stealth-modified ship carrying the quantum disruptor, slipped toward the Devourer. Command ship, a massive vessel at the fleet's center, its hull pulsing with eerie light. Captain Gregory Walsh, a grizzled veteran, piloted the ship, with Wright and Allori aboard. "Charge the disruptor," Walsh ordered, his voice calm despite the battle raging outside. Wright worked frantically, calibrating the device, while Allori's light pulsed with nervous energy. "It must be precise," she warned. "Too strong and we risk our own ships." A Devourer patrol ship detected them, its weapons locking on. "We've been spotted," the sensor officer shouted. Walsh made a split-second decision. "Ramming speed. Get us as close as possible." The Defiance's engines flared, propelling it toward the command ship. Enemy fire hit their engines, alarms blaring as systems failed. "We're losing power," the engineer reported. Walsh turned to Wright. "How close do we need to be?" Wright checked his readings, his face pale. "Closer. We're not there yet." The ship shuddered as another blast hit. Walsh's voice was steady. "All crew to escape pods, right? Allori, set the disruptor to activate on impact." Wright's eyes widened, but he nodded, understanding the sacrifice. As the crew evacuated, Walsh stayed at the helm, guiding the crippled ship. Wright and Allori reconfigured the disruptor, then boarded the last escape pod. "It's set," Wright said over the comm. "It'll pulse on impact." Walsh nodded. "Get out of here, and make sure this works." The Defiance crashed into Wei, the command ship, a small explosion against the massive vessel. Seconds later, a strange energy pulse spread outward, invisible but devastating. Across the battlefield, the Devourer ships stopped moving in formation. Some drifted aimlessly, others fired randomly, their hive mind shattered. For 7 precious minutes they were vulnerable. Chen seized the moment. "All ships, attack now. Focus fire on the larger vessels." The human fleet regrouped with stunning speed, their ships turning to charge the enemy. Railguns and plasma torpedoes tore into the Devourers, exploiting their disarray. In Haven, Zeth Noir and Gra watched, stunned. "It's working," the Valori whispered, its skin rippling with colors. Gra grunted. "It won't last. They adapt. Always do." He was right. After 7 minutes, the Devourers began to move, with purpose again, forming a new pattern. "The disruption's wearing off," Grant reported. Chen nodded grimly. "We knew it wouldn't last forever. Move to Phase 3. The human fleet pulled back, forming a defensive line near Mars. Rodriguez activated the final layer of defenses, massive energy cannons hidden on Mars and its moons. They fired, creating a wall of energy that slowed the Devourers' advance. But the enemy kept coming, their numbers overwhelming. Despite humanity's traps, weapons, and sacrifices, the Devourers pushed toward Earth, their black hulls blotting out the stars. Wright, rescued from the Defiance's escape pods, worked with Allori on a new plan. The disruption worked, but they adapted too fast, he said. We need something permanent. Allori's light pulsed intensely. If we access their core programming, we could shut them down completely. Carter frowned. How? Their command ship is in the middle of their fleet. Before anyone could answer, an alert sounded. New ships were approaching, not Devourers, but Valori, Krell, and Luminari vessels returning to the fight. Zeith Noir's voice came through the comms. Commander Carter, General Chen, the Valori High Council has decided. We will not run. We will fight with you. One by one, the alien leaders echoed the sentiment. The Krell, Luminari, Saurians, and others had chosen to stand with humanity. The alien reinforcements shifted the battle's tide. Their diverse technologies, Valori cloaking fields, Krell plasma lances, Luminari sensor jamming pulses, confused the Devourers, slowing their advance. But the command ship remained untouchable, a fortress at the fleet's heart. Carter proposed a desperate plan, a boarding party to infiltrate the command ship and access its core programming. It's suicide, Chen said, her voice heavy. Carter met her gaze. It's our only shot. I'm leading it. The team assembled on the Valori ship Swift Current, a sleek vessel capable of slipping through enemy lines. 12 beings from 6 species, Carter, Wright, Allori, Gra, Zix, Puek, Quezal, Tinvor, and 4 human marines, prepared for the mission. Each carried weapons tailored to their skills, from Krell battle axes to Saurian stealth blades. Wright brought a device to interface with the Devourer systems, its design a fusion of human and luminary tech. We may not come back, Carter told them, but if we succeed, we end this forever. The Swift Current moved with blinding speed, weaving through the battle as human and alien ships created a diversion. They reached the command ship during the heaviest fighting, using a Saurian cutting tool to breach its hull. Inside, the ship was a nightmare, biomechanical, with pulsing tissues alongside metal components. Strange devices moved through corridors, ignoring the team at first. Their internal sensors don't see us as a threat, Wright whispered. We're too small. They moved deeper, following Allori's readings toward the central control. Jumecia, twice they fought security drones, losing 3 Marines in brutal skirmishes. Finally, they reached a massive chamber, its center dominated by a column of swirling energy, data streams flowing like rivers. That's it, Allori said, her light pulsing with excitement. The core programming. Wright connected his device, but the ship's defenses activated, mechanical arms and drones emerging from the walls. Hold them off, Carter ordered, firing at the machines. A desperate battle erupted, human and alien fighting side by side. Gra roared, smashing drones with his axe. Zix darted through the chaos, her claws disabling enemy systems. Quezal used water pressure to short-circuit machines, while Puek jammed their communications. At the column, Wright and Allori worked frantically, accessing the Devourer programming. What they found shocked them. The Devourers hadn't been created to destroy. Millions of years ago, their makers, a species long extinct, designed them to protect civilizations by removing dangerous technologies, preventing wars that could destabilize the galaxy. But over time, the programming corrupted, turning a guardian into a destroyer. We can reset them, Allori said, her light flickering, with hope, return them to their original purpose. Wright shook his head. Too risky. We shut them down completely. Carter, fighting his way to their side, made the call. Do both. Shut them down, but preserve the original code for study. We need to ensure this never happens again. Working under fire, they rewrote the protocols. Across the Devourer fleet, ships stopped moving, their weapons powering down. The attack was over. The surviving boarders returned to Earth as heroes, greeted by humans and aliens alike. In the weeks that followed, a new alliance formed. the United Galactic Council with Earth as its heart. Not because humans were the strongest or smartest, but because they had been the first to stand. Carter and Zeth-Noir stood on an observation deck gazing at the stars. "We rebuild, explore, and ensure this never happens again," Carter said. "Together," Zeth-Noir agreed, its skin rippling with colors of hope. The Devourer fleet drifted silent, a monument to fear's defeat. Humanity's defiance had not only saved their world, it had reshaped the galaxy, proving that courage could conquer even the darkest of fates.